$200 million quadruple A Skull and Bones disaster. $200 million? That's 2 Concords. Wait, no, Concord was $400 million. That's right, sorry. That's half of 1 Concord. Yep, no, you're right. I got it wrong, guys. I'm sorry. It's like football field, yeah.
Heretic! Return what you have stolen from me!
You've no claim to it, Robert. Take yourself from here before I'm forced to thin your ranks further.
You play a dangerous game!
Uh-oh.
I assure you, this is no game.
After recreating the Crusades, Renaissance Italy, and the American Revolution, Assassin's Creed made the golden age of piracy its playground in 2013. The historical setting enveloped players in a swashbuckling adventure across early 18th century Caribbean waters.
Yeah.
Naval combat mechanics entered the mix as a series first.
Wait, so this was in 2014? This game came out? This one here that we're looking at? This looks better than pirate games that come out now. What the hell happened?
Proving so thrilling that fans wasted no time wishing for a Ubisoft-produced pirate game sans the trappings of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah?
The publisher unveiled such a project at E3 2017.
Wow.
The Skull and Bones announcement trailer and subsequent gameplay walkthroughs promised the sailing experience from Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag would be injected into a massive multiplayer romp. However, the idea derived from a simpler premise years prior, one that would have seen Black Flag receive a seafaring online suite post-launch. But ambitions swelled as Ubisoft executives heard the siren song of a recurring revenue stream. Thus, Assassin's Creed 4's multiplayer mode morphed into a live service. Creative leads struggled for years trying to devise a clear vision.
So they were just going to use Black Flag, but then they thought they couldn't make enough money off of that, and then they just decided to make an entirely new game?
Skull and Bones became marred by several regime changes, multiple reboots, and more than a few delays. Mismanagement in the development and publishing departments muddied the waters from the start, and Ubisoft's bold insistence on a hefty premium price tag all but doomed the so-called Quadruple A title. Despite nearly a decade of build-up, the pirate game launched to minimal fanfare in February 2024, courting fewer than 1 million users in week 1. Did this beleaguered endeavor ever stand a chance? Its tumultuous production history doesn't suggest as much. This is the tragedy of Skull and Bones.
The tragedy? Oh my god. Everyone stole it? Well, like, okay, so if you look right now, how many people are playing Skull and Bones? And this was $200 million? Okay, so the word tragedy actually does make sense in this context. Okay. Yes, it was indeed, in fact, a tragedy. Wow. That's impressive, almost.
This video was brought to you in part by Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus.
Hiring trash young developers?
Step into the eternal conflict of Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus.
You want to know what's really funny? Is that this mobile Warhammer game probably has more active players at this very moment than Skull and Bones does.
The ultimate turn-based strategy game in the Warhammer universe. Lead 70-plus champions from 17 powerful factions in lightning-fast tactical skirmishes. Master your strategy to conquer challenging campaigns, dominate PvP battles, and
the game's actually good.
Epic guild raids. The adventure never stops. This December, celebrate Grotmas with the arrival of the Red Gobbo, and discover new updates, factions, and events. Scan our QR code or click the link in the description to download Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus today. Don't forget to use the code HAPPYDEC to receive 2,000 gold and 50 Blackstones, available until January 1st. Lead your champions, dominate the battlefield, and become a legend in the Warhammer universe. Oh, that's the
guy from the Space Marine 2, isn't it?
3, 2, 1, go!
Wow. Calgard, yeah.
Founded in 2008, Ubisoft Singapore spent years serving as a support studio for every major Assassin's Creed installment, minus the original. Its co-development
I
duties...
just don't understand how have video games gone back in time. Like, in 5 years or 10 years from now, are we going to be playing, like, Nintendo 64 games again? Like, is this going to keep going? I don't know.
AC4 Black Flag notably included the design of naval-based
Yeah, in
gameplay,
20 years we'll be back
yet
to playing
helming
Pong.
Ghost Recon Phantoms also primed the Singapore office for its most daring effort. The Tom Clancy-branded multiplayer game came and went fleetingly, launching in 2014 with an unsuccessful free-to-play model that only kept it afloat for 2 years. By the time Ubisoft shut down the Phantom's servers in December 2016, many Singapore staffers already had their hands full with what would become Skull and Bones. Shortly after completing...
So this game took 8 years to make? How do you spend 8 years making something worse than you made 10 years ago? How does that happen?
Its Black Flag tasks, Ubisoft Singapore started developing the naval combat-focused online expansion.
Yes.
According to producer Anu Vadur, the endeavor started in 2013 by placing 2 players together.
Why is he in an aquarium? This is the problem. What are you doing? You ever see a From Software interview? It's one guy that looks like he's been working for 20 hours and he's sitting in a plain white room and there might be a award that Dark Souls 3 won from like 7 years ago or something like that. And that's it. He's sitting in the office. That's it. There's nothing going on. Like, you're in an aquarium? What is this?
On the same map. Work on building a multiplayer mode for the existing game lasted a short while, however.
Oh, wow.
Anonymous sources who spoke with Kotaku in 2021 recalled how Singapore's sailing tech, as well as its then-fledgling Phantoms experience, convinced higher-ups the studio could quickly produce a live service using Black Flag assets. The beginnings of an Assassin's Creed 4 multiplayer suite consequently transformed into a separate MMO-like project with the codename Black Flag Infinite. An inherent connection to Black Flag and its aging technology held back Infinite's growth potential on multiple fronts.
And this is all Black Flag, right? It's not Skull and Bones because it looks good. I'm assuming it's Black Flag. Yes, okay.
For one, AC4 was a cross-gen game for both PS3 and PS4 era hardware, almost guaranteeing Infinite would be rendered obsolete upon release. Hoping to future-proof the online pirate experience, Ubisoft headquarters set aside the Assassin's Creed branding and instead charged the Singapore outfit with creating a new IP centered around high-stakes ship combat.
Right.
Skull and Bones, tentatively titled Project Liberté, spawned from this line of instruction, the chaos of mismanagement nipping at its heels.
This is crazy. Because I remember looking like the original videos of Skull and Bones and it looked amazing. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. We're going to play this. And then I guess not,
120 days. That's how long the average pirate survived a lawless life on the seas during the golden age of piracy.
Yeah.
I'm Justin Farron, the creative director for Skull and Bones. And this is your chance to not just survive, but to climb the food chain and surpass the...
Even in the years leading up to the E3 2017 unveiling, the core Skull and Bones premise manifested in various forms. One embryonic version imagined Project Liberté in a Caribbean setting like Black Flag. Another pre-production iteration reportedly took inspiration from strategy game Sid Meier's Pirates. And would have seen players explore Hyperborea, a fantasy world where branching multiplayer campaigns could last for weeks. The mythical pirate utopia Libertalia constituted the primary influence behind a third variation. Though all were explored to some extent, none of these ideas advanced beyond prototyping. Still, Ubisoft Singapore invested a significant amount of resources and time into each iteration as a result of constantly reworked concepts. The focus shifted around 2017.
This is the mistake that I think a lot of games make, is that they switch the direction of the game 3 or 4 times. And so it's like you're developing it for 8 years, but like you're really only developing that version, like for 4.
When Leeds decided a sessions-based shooter modeled after Rainbow Six Siege, but with boats, was the best bet. An Indian Ocean backdrop seemed optimal as well, considering the large ocean basin housed every major ecosystem and a wealth of trade resources. Plus, the ocean's proximity to Singapore provided the developers with a certain air of confidence that they'd be able to faithfully fashion a fantasy about how the region's pirates operated.
So they think that because they're next to water, they're going to make a good pirate game? Okay, yeah, the director was at an aquarium. How do you do something like this? It's so retarded it loops back around to being smart. I don't know, apparently not. It almost did, though.
Ubisoft showcased a glimpse of this vision during the Skull and Bones reveal at
Scary
Microsoft's
logic.
E3
It is scary,
2017
isn't it?
press conference. On top of the bombastic ship combat, initial details teased epic encounters against AI pirates and beasts lying in wait beneath the water. The promise of 5v5 player modes and ship customization centered around RPG-inspired boat classes also captured the public's attention. Justin Farron, the project's first creative director, touted improved wind mechanics as another major improvement over Black Flag, especially since the feature boasted offensive and defensive uses combined with standard navigational tools.
Oh, wow.
Regardless of the compelling trailers and marketing speak, Skull and Bones couldn't escape comparisons to Rare's more stylized Sea of Thieves pirate sim.
Yeah. I mean, how is it that this game, like, Sea of Thieves looks better than that? That's amazing.
Ubisoft developers are
first director, we got them, boys. Case explained. Yeah.
Viewed tone as the key differentiating factor. Sea of Thieves ran rampant with lighthearted fun, whereas Ubisoft's title prioritized a grittier approach informed by many pirates historically fleeing to the Indian Ocean after getting chased out of the Caribbean. Speaking with GamesIndustry.biz, the studio's director of product and service, Francois Logier, noted that Skull and Bone
Look at this, bro. What's this? What, they got Nerf guns at the office? Just you see, you look at From Software. You think they have any Nerf guns in the office? No, they don't. They don't have any fucking Nerf guns in the office. That's for kids. That's a toy. They're there to work. Like, it's just...
Those pirates entering new waters and fighting to reach the top of the food chain,
have swords?
thus evoking a mafia kind of story, separate from other pirate games. And thanks to the lessons learned from Ghost Recon Phantoms, community feedback was positioned as an integral part of pre- and post-launch development. As such, news about the Keepers of the Code program accompanied the Skull and Bones announcement, inviting users to playtest the game and influence its creation. But some Kotaku sources claimed Ubisoft executives wanted more from E3 2017's sessions-based build and tasked developers with designing additive exploration buttressed by a world whose quest could venture beyond monetizing the PvP grind.
Oh, here we go.
Ubisoft Singapore toiled away on these ambitions, Skull and Bones received the first of many delays in May 2018, pushing its release out of the previously announced fall.
Wait, so it got delayed into... Wait, so it was supposed to be released before 2019? Oh, this game was cooked, man. It's like, I think that this is an example of a game that... Remember what I said about how some babies deserve to be aborted? I think this is a really great example of that. At a certain point, you just need to acknowledge that you did it wrong. You did it wrong. It's time to just go back to the drawing board and give up.
2018 window and into a nebulous 2019 through 2020 period. The publisher told investors the prolonged production cycle would result in an even more engaging experience for players. At least some of what the company had in mind occupied center stage weeks later during E3 2018. Skull and Bones returned to the trade show with a new PvPvE free roam mode called Hunting Grounds that resembled the Division's Dark Zones. A shared world mode, Hunting Grounds would let players work alone or with...
I feel like if you look at this aesthetic here, there's a lot of people that want to be here. In like a video game world, absolutely. Like, of course this had, like, massive hype behind it. This looks awesome. Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. This is really cool.
work alone or with friends to harass merchant vessels, pillage trade routes, and engage in other disruptive activities. Ubisoft promoted it as complementary to the pre-existing PvP offering called Disputed Waters, and while both showed promise, developers later alleged that neither of Skull and Bones' E3 builds really existed beyond vertical slices. In the long run, the specifics mattered little. The Skull and Bones Ubisoft exhibited for 2 years was abandoned in favor of pursuing disparate gameplay possibilities.
So they basically made a tech demo for a game that didn't exist in order to advertise a game that would never exist? Okay, all right.
Constant regime changes counted among the many contributing factors to the project's lengthy stay in development hell. Assassin's Creed veteran Sebastian Puel helped shepherd Skull and Bones through its early days in an executive producer role. Reportedly, Puel's lack of multiplayer expertise motivated his exit. Justin Farron, another longtime Assassin's Creed producer, took over as creative director in 2016, fostering good ideas by many accounts.
I think this is a really great example of a studio that is chasing a trend and overstepping and overreaching into a place that they're not really familiar with and they don't have any expertise into. Because, like, it just seems like a lot of these guys really just don't know what the fuck they're doing. And they're just trying to get involved in this because it seems like this is what people want to see, rather than actually going with something that's part of their core, like, understanding. It died of greed. There's no passion. Well, it's not just that there's no passion. It's that they don't have the expertise to put that passion into an actual a product.
Though they failed to align with what Ubisoft headquarters wanted.
Yeah, they're not doing what they're good at. They're doing what makes a lot of money, which is a live service game.
Notably, Farron stuck around until June 2019,
or what the new popular thing is.
1 month after the second delay. The vice president of editorial from Ubisoft's Paris HQ, Elizabeth Pellin, assumed the role of creative director shortly thereafter and helmed a new way forward. Leadership had previously debated whether the project would center a pirate or their ship as the main playable character. The E3 2017 and 2018 builds revolved around the latter. The mid-2019 reboot focalized a playable pirate, then implemented exploration and survival elements borrowed.
Did Atlas have more players than Skull and Bones? No, it didn't have more players than Skull and Bones. It didn't it has. At this exact moment, Skull and Bones is being defeated by one of the biggest and most disappointing game releases of all time. Wow. That's... Okay. Well, there we go. Oh my god. I still play this. Atlas is a fun time. Yeah, I did not even expect that.
From Rust and Ark Survival Evolved. Letting users roam land masses on foot represent another new point of interest, one prompting several rounds of trial and error. Existing combat, looting, and sailing mechanics remained intact, supported by crafting, trading, and other
Am I the only person? Like, this UI is shit. Like, putting this in front of it like this, everything about this is bad. Like, because I think that there's a huge market out there for a really popular, really good pirate game, and nobody can nail it down because I think that they're not willing to do what you need to do to have a good pirate game.
Management features. The survival-based additions inspired higher stakes for dying, yielding what some developers deemed a
multiplayer. Excuse me, multiplayer.
Such drastic shifts invited more chaos since the engine tools used for Skull and Bones were ill-fated for land exploration and the sudden inclusion of deeper inventory management. The crew sunk 6 to 12 months into sorting through the resulting issues, so it's no wonder Ubisoft's October 2019 earnings report confirmed a third delay.
So the delay was until 2021? Oh, God.
Officially, the publisher kept Skull and Bones out of the limelight for quite some time.
Smart.
But fresh details surfaced courtesy of reporting from Video Games Chronicle in July 2020. Development sources who spoke with VGC alleged the 2019 reboot had introduced a live game model featuring live storytelling elements. As a result, Instead of the division's games as a service angle with its regular updates and unchanging game world, the reworked experience took cues from Fortnite, dropping players into a persistent...
Again, bro, it's again the exact same thing. They're not following any sort of like ideology. There's no principle to the development. It's like, well, look at what Fortnite's doing. Well, let's do what Fortnite does. Oh, well, people like Fortnite. Let's just make Fortnite. New talent isn't as passionate as old talent? I don't agree with that. I think there's plenty of new talented developers that make great games all the time. I think the problem is that the studio went from focusing on creating a good experience to chasing trends, and the process of chasing trends ended up alienating their old players, and they moved away from what their core competency was. I think that's what happened. Yeah, there's no vision, exactly.
world filled with characters, quests, and storylines whose changes depended on community behavior.
Yep.
Stopping short of corroborating the VGC story, Ubisoft Singapore's September 2020 blog post revealed that progress on a new vision had entered full swing. The message additionally explained Skull and Bones' many delays. As ambitions swelled, so too did the challenges accompanying them. The studio consequently spent several months in 2020 conceptualizing how to modernize the classic pirate fantasy, while also crafting an immersive adventure replete with...
This looks good, but I think that in order to have a good pirate game experience, you need to slow the game down to about the speed of Dark and Darker. I think that's what, if you really want to have like an authentic, legitimate experience, I think that's what you kind of have to do.
Memorable moments. Prolonging the development cycle seemed the optimal way to get at the heart of the conundrum. Ubisoft further facilitated production efforts at this juncture upon assigning satellite studios like those in Berlin, Chengdu, Kyiv, Paris, and the Philippines to assist the Singaporean outfit. A fourth delay followed in May 2021, pushing the release to an unspecified date between April 2022
They're
and
not
March
even going to tell you when it comes out anymore. Oh, great.
2023. Ubisoft Chief Financial Officer Frederic Duguay spoke highly of the project's creative direction in a financial
I bet he
call,
did.
then stated development had been advancing well for the past year. At the time of Kotaku's June 2021 report, sources claimed
How does something advance well when it's late by 3 years? I feel like that's kind of not true.
Was
yeah, like if I was late, like I feel like, yeah, just that's
still
not how it
evolving
works.
because the multiplayer title hadn't hit the mark.
Advancing in
Some
they're
people
advancing in the wrong
blamed
way.
the turbulence
Okay,
on a
that makes
general
sense.
lack of direction, exacerbated by too many leads taking charge while few were willing to make tough calls. For other developers, the issues stemmed from the project being rushed. Still, there were those who maintained the fault laid at the feet of Ubisoft's editorial division, which proved difficult to please. One ex-staffer alleged editorial would occasionally freak out and change everything. A recipe for disaster since directional shifts forced adjustments that affected everything from progression to the in-game economy. Culture clashes between the Assassin's Creed and Ghost Recon Phantoms teams compounded the situation, as did the revolving door of creative leads. Not only did the latter cause multiple reboots, leadership shakeups most often meant previously shelved ideas were relegated and sometimes cast aside once again.
Jesus.
Wasting time thus became the name of the game. Therefore, developers occasionally either found themselves with
Oh my god. How does this happen?
nothing to do, or stuck in a cycle of busy work while higher-ups contemplated the next course of action. Reportedly, a culture of fear adversely impacted Ubisoft Singapore throughout Skull and Bones' development as well.
Oh yeah, I
based
remember
on
this.
allegations of misconduct and workplace toxicity.
Yep.
Employees who spoke out claimed the publisher's efforts in 2020 to rid its ranks of bad actors accomplished little in terms of reforming the work environment. Difficulty retaining employees dogged the beleaguered multiplayer effort too.
I do think that kind of stuff is like super corrosive in a company because like it has people thinking about like the workplace politics and like their experience there rather than the actual job. It's like if you're constantly looking over your shoulder and you're like stressed out, yeah, of course you're not going to be doing a good job. It makes sense.
Supposedly culminating in an unprecedented staff exodus, in which senior developers left in droves due to the constant fits and starts.
Yeah, can ruin
The
it.
fraught
Absolutely.
production cycle naturally raised questions about why Ubisoft simply didn't pull the plug. A few developers believed a deal with the Singaporean government was what staved off cancellation, considering the country's Economic Development Board had granted the publisher subsidies in 2016 to foster AAA game development in the region. Skull and Bones seemingly benefited from a certain level of immunity, though nothing could save it from the downward spiral that ultimately plagued its market debut.
The release of this game was so fucking entertaining to me. Like, I remember I was actually going to play it on stream, and then I watched gameplay of it, and it looked so bad. It was like, it was a guy who was just sitting there hitting the same cannon button, and it was just shooting a cannonball at a tower, and the tower's health was going like this. And so I sat there, and I watched, I'm like, okay, well, what happens when he kills the tower? You want to know what happens? There's another tower. I'm like, I'm not going to play this. This is awful. Nobody wants to see this.
Shut down this game! Frank! Frank on the
It's crazy. Well, where's the actual gameplay? Sea of Thieves is better visually? Maybe. Depends on what you like. I like this visual. It looks good.
Skull and Bones finally received a November 2022 launch date that July for PC, PS5, Xbox, and Google Stadia.
Oh, wow.
New details confirmed players
Google
would spend
Stadia.
most of their time at sea with scattered chances of exploring the world on solid ground. A worldwide gameplay reveal followed the news, spotlighting multiplayer crafting, ship management, and exploration.
Oh, wow.
In short, hopeful players were promised an adventure wherein they'd be able to assemble a crew aboard a small sloop and expand it into a mighty force on hulking warships. Viewers quickly expressed skepticism, lambasting the first-person ship camera, a lack of shipboarding combat, and the dated-looking visuals.
Oh, that's right. So basically, there was no shipboarding in Skull and Bones, and it ended up just being like a loading screen, whereas Black Flag had shipboarding like over 10 years ago. The game had potential. There are so many games that have potential.
Many begrudged
So
Ubisoft
true.
for not delivering something along the lines of a Black Flag 2.0 experience. Ubisoft
Lots of games have
postponed
potential.
Skull and Bones for a fifth time in September 2022. An extra 5 months would be used for polishing and balancing purposes, a necessity
Yeah,
to
this is
improve the
about what it
project's
looks like.
chances of long-term success. A sixth and final delay cited similar intentions in January 2023 as developers prepared for Skull and Bones' February 2024 rollout
Oh,
on
boy.
PC, PS5, and Xbox Series platforms.
It's like, I wonder if you're on the development team of this game. Like, they have to know it's bad, right? Like, you have to know it's like, okay, all right, well, today's the day, guys. Geez, okay, well, let's put it out there. Maybe, yeah, they've got to know that it's bad.
The Pirate title became mired in controversy once more ahead of launch, courtesy of its contentious $70 price tag. As a live service
yeah.
game with a battle pass, in-game store, and premium currency, the general consensus argued
So
Skull
it's $70 as premium currency and a battle pass. Wow. Well, I could have expected that.
and Bones had no business demanding such a high entry point. Even investors raised concerns during an earnings call. One pondered whether the cost could presumably limit the player base.
Yep.
Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot defended the decision, labeling Skull and Bones a Quadruple A endeavor that warranted steeper pricing because it offered a full-fledged game that would deliver in the long run. Critic reviews.
Do you remember the joke that I made in my video about how it had AAA, 1A for each player? It's really getting to be there. It really is. Like, things are looking very not good for them. Yeah, Quadruple A.
And user
fact, it
impressions
is.
soon thereafter suggested otherwise. Dismal review scores permeated the day one discourse. The common assessment being that while Skull and Bones provided a fun adventure, repetition, minimal gameplay variation, and dull missions did not beget a lasting thrill ride.
What he means to say is the game sucked dick, and it did. I had a sponsor for this game. I ended up not even doing it because it was so bad.
stellar ship combat and navigation that made Black Flag shine over a
Wait,
decade.
actually, I'm not sure. I don't remember. I don't remember if, like, that's what happened or they just realized that it was cooked. You said they pulled out. Yeah, that's what I was thinking again. I think that they could have just, like, it might have been that because I didn't do it on the release day because I was like, I don't know. I probably was like, oh, I have to react to videos today. I don't have time to play this game for money. And so I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it in like a couple of days. And they might have realized, like, man, I don't think that it's going to matter if we pay more money. Like, we might as well just save our money. They pulled out whenever you said it looked like it sucks 1,000 dicks or something. No, I said that if you build 100 bridges and you suck one dick, you're not a bridge builder, you're a dick sucker. But if you suck 100 dicks and you only build one bridge, you're Ubisoft. That's what I said. But I didn't say that until recently. Like, that was very recent.
Prior worked wonders for the multiplayer romp, yet could only bear so much of the heavy lifting. Users shared similarly unfavorable critiques, and low player counts did little to improve the perception.
Yeah.
Insider Gaming's Tom Henderson heard
Sometimes I wonder how much damage my videos do to games. I actually wonder, like, because I think it does matter. Now, is it a big amount? You did this? I wonder. Because I really, like, I farm people pretty fucking hard. Enough? Yeah, it's all your fault. Did I kill this? Zero, you just state the truth? I think that that's true, too. I feel like I am like an amplification device, and I cannot change people's opinions, and I can make people like a good game more or hate a bad game more. But I can't make people like a bad game or hate a good game. I think that's what the difference is.
sources who claim the repeatedly delayed title barely cracked 850,000 players in its first week. Numbers bolstered by a free trial promotion. It was far from a great start for a project created on an estimated $200 million budget. Users who did dive in seemed engaged at the very least, logging about 3+ hours of playtime per day. Either way, developers knew sales figures were less than satisfactory, with some attributing the soft launch to the ill-advised $70 price tag.
Well, they have to do $70. Like, I actually think that the $70 price tag isn't really that big of a deal, and I think that people would easily put the money together if they found a game that was really good. The problem is that these games are just fundamentally not worth $70. The experience they deliver isn't really that much better than other games. $70 is too much, though. I don't think that it is too much. I don't see the logic in that. So if I look at, like, for example, any other form of technology or any other form of, like, anything I'm buying, right? Video games were $60. They got moved up to $60 in the 360 era, right? They went from $50 to $60 from, like, GameCube to a Wii, or, like, you know, the Xbox to Xbox 360 or PS2 to PS3. And so it went to $60. And so, like, that's like 2006, 2007, 2005, somewhere around there. I mean, what's really about the same price? Like, I mean, what was $60 then that's only $70 now? I feel like with inflation, you can easily expect that to be the case. Easily expect that. So it's digital now, though? Yeah, I'm sure digital has a factor to it, for sure. But I don't think that it scales at the same level. It's the economy. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the reason why these games, like, but this is the problem, though, is that at the end of the day, I can sit and I can try to justify to you why it's important that games cost $70 and how they will cost. Like, there will be a time when we are old when we will think back to the good days when games only cost $100. We all realize this, right? Everybody knows this is the case. So it's just a matter of when. And that's it. Yeah, right. No, I'm saying, like, please no. Well, no. I mean, like, how many of you guys have had, like, a grandparent or, like, a parent tell you, like, oh, back in my day, we used to be able to buy X for Y amount of coins, you know? Well, it's how the inflation is, right? That's it. That's life. And so, like, that's just what's going to happen. The point is that these games and investing this much into a big game like this, if you don't know you're going to hit, it's probably not a good idea. This is why I said that these AAA big games like this is why they're so dangerous to develop and make. It's because you can double down on something that will end up destroying your studio. Game inflation or corporate greed? It's probably a bit of both, right? But I think that it is inflation too. I mean, inflation is a reality.
Specific failings aside, Skull and Bones' various shortcomings appeared indicative of a larger company-wide issue within Ubisoft. Insider Gaming published a report prior to launch detailing the internal tensions that had beset the France-based organization. Sources familiar with the in-house operations identified Ubisoft's penchant for chasing trends in recent years as one of the key
NFT games. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Wow. NFTs?
Culprits behind its steady decline. Between 2021 and 2022, for instance, the Assassin's Creed publisher had approximately 12 Battle Royale shooters in development, many of them.
What?
The Assassin's Creed publisher had approximately 12 Battle Royale shooters in development, many of
Who does this? Yeah, why? I don't even... how does that even happen? That's insane. 12, are they crazy? Yes. And convinced they're money laundering? I wish. That would mean somebody that wasn't stupid was working there.
of them unceremoniously shelved. Poor management of this scale naturally resulted in delays becoming the norm. When paired with unclear creative directions and toxic work environments, it's no surprise the likes of Beyond Good and Evil 2 entered and remained trapped in development hell throughout Skull and Bones' prolonged stint. But Ubisoft's live service games have turned things around in the past, Rainbow Six Siege constituting the most famous example. Skull and Bones could someday enjoy a comparable surge, contingent on whichever way.
It won't happen. Here's the big problem that a lot of games like this have, is that once players make up their mind that the game is bad, it's almost impossible to get them to change their mind. And the amount of games that get players to change their mind, it's like this fucking single digit percentage fraction. Like everybody says No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. Yes, exactly. That's my point. No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. And 2 games. Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, but think about the amount of money that they invested into totally remaking that game. And that's the thing. So yeah, I mean, I feel like this is the main problem. Is that like people just, after they make up their mind, that's it.
The wind blows for Ubisoft as a whole.
Keep in mind that the company was in such dire straits that having Tencent rumored to be buying them caused their stock to go up again. That's nuts. Yeah, big money wasted. I think that Ubisoft is going to have like a massive buyout, turmoil, like something like that.
Thank you for
crazy is
watching
gonna
our
happen.
video.
Yeah,
We'd
this
like
is
to
a really
take
good
this
video. I'm
time
going to link it
thank,
to you guys.
by name, the generous Patreons who
Yeah,
have pledged
this
to
is a
our
great
Hall of
video.
Fame reward
Holy
tier.
shit.
Disco Cobra 2013.
Money ain't for nothing and chicks for
Ice
free?
Cold Water $1.
Yeah, I guess not.
Karu. Sauerkraut.
Holy shit, man. Strip for
Shuan
parts?
Chinwin.
Yeah, basically
And those
that's what they're going to
currently
do, I
subscribed
think.
to our producer reward tier.
Great narrator? Yeah, they did a really
Adam
good job.
Miller. Brock Piviroto.
Yeah, gamers.
Darirab Sigurdsson. Dave Oshry. DCX.
I'll go ahead and make sure I link you guys. Yeah,
DJ
actually, I've never
Redden.
watched one of their videos
Eric
before. This is the
Video.
first time.
Fallen Asterisk. It's Peanut Butter.
As a French,
Crash
those
Course.
people, they fucking deserve it? You
Jaguar
think they
Knot.
deserve it?
Jan Christofferson. Matthew McLaughlin. Rebobbed.
Do they deserve it? I mean, I think that really any time that you fail in a free market, you deserve it. Like, yeah, I feel like there's almost never a circumstance where a good product fails for no reason.
Roberto Nieves. Sir
Workforce
Alex.
doesn't deserve it?
C-Rob.
Yeah, I
Gleason.
don't know.
Taylor Moten.
They failed
Your
as a business? They did.
If you enjoy
They
our
absolutely
content,
did.
please consider subscribing to our channel and backing us on Patreon.
Wow. They basically fell for 10 years, not a single upside. Yeah, well, let me see how they're doing now. Like, I'll see if I can pull it up and find it. Ubisoft stock. How are they doing now? Wow. Well, that's not good.